Warmachine Mark 4.5 is officially here with the release of the PDF rules, apt to be updated on the 21st. With all the new rules, of course, it means it's time for hot takes. My name's Ryan. I used to be good at Warmachine. Welcome to Spell Rack. All right, let's get started with Storm Legion, and let's look over their changes and kind of see what initial takes are on the army. First off is going to be Sparkhammer. Sparkhammer got a pretty significant change, got a pretty good spell rack. He has Lightning Pulse, and then some hammer gets cut for Electrify, so he has a plus damage spell, and he has Force Hammer, so he has the range 10 knockback. Gaining Electrify for +2 damage, gaining a knockdown spell obviously gives good damage to the army and then good assassination potential. The other big item is his feat. His feat now affects all models with electric type damage. And so that just really opens up Sparkhammer to support a lot more of the army, including the balloons that are now doing electric damage. Is Sparkhammer a meta contender? I think he's a mid-tier caster for them. Will he see meta play if somebody unlocks him and really unlocks him? Possibly. I'm not sure he's their top tier caster, but I think he's much better than he used to be, and he'll be a lot of fun to play. Going down to Borealis, just just a better Jack now, going to armor 19. I think we'll see more of him on the table. Storm Veins. Let's talk about Storm Veins. This is a significant change for Signar Storm Legion. Only having one of them being able to do the -3-inch bubble is a significant hit to the ability of the army to kind of take incoming gun lines. And so look for Signar to be a little bit weaker to gun lines, although Storm Veins still very strong. Let's come into the Gunslinger cadre. I think Deuce is a major winner in this update. The only change on Deuce is going from Mat 7 to Mat 6, which means he remains Rat 7. There's a lot of warjacks out there that have gone from Rat 6 to Rat 5, so having a Rat 7 heavy is a pretty significant premium. He keeps True Sight, Reposition, Gun Mage, all that good stuff, so everything that Deuce was doing. Keep in mind also, we saw a lot of character jacks actually go up a point. So I think Deuce staying at 17 points, just losing a mat, which is effectively nothing, I think he's going to be a lot better this year than he was. So I think Deuce is actually a pretty good lift for the faction. The other one here is Kane. You know, Kane's pistols go to infinite reloads, and he cuts Teleport, he gains Blur, Magic Bullet, Mage Sight. The other thing on his card now that gets added is Gatecrasher. So if he destroys a model during his activation, he can place 5 inches at any time. That is a significant buff over having to pay the focus to teleport, or old versions of Gatecrasher where it costs focus to get out of there. So he can actually walk up, dump all of his pistols, and then place behind a forest or a building or something like that to try to get out of the way. So I think just simply having that 5-inch place is a pretty significant buff. The other thing that changes is his feat. So now he's getting +1 for each damage roll for each cumulative attack he's making. Keep in mind, he's going to have 2 initials. He can buy 6 shots +1 if you give him that extra focus. So you're looking at 9 shots. He can Heartseeker all the way, which means he's going to be approximately POW 14 through POW 23 on those shots. It's not just damage that he's doing, though, if he's going to knock out a heavy or knock out a colossal or a huge base. It's also the fact that the shots can blow up units and then do unboostable POW 10s to everybody else. So I think Kane, especially with how good Deuce is, I think Kane is going to be one of the major meta contenders for Signar. I think Kane is a great place for any Storm Legion player to start with this new addition. He's basically a super solo with a really good feat, and then you just kind of bring whatever else you want in your army, and it's all going to work. Like, you need your army to synergize, but Kane just gets to go be Kane and do cool stuff. The other thing about Kane is he still has Calamity, right? Bring in Arc Node. It's a range 10 spell. So you can still run a Jack out, arc out a Calamity, shoot it with some of your stuff. That's probably not the turn that you're feeding. You probably don't want to cast any spells the turn you're feeding because you want to put all your spells into shots. But go put Calamity out there. If you can get it on a huge base early, it's probably worth the one to upkeep it. But otherwise, it's just a good spell to go put out there, use for the rest of your army. And then Kane being a super solo is just going to be absolutely fantastic. Black 13th, you know, these guys definitely got knocked down a peg. They're still really good models. being just POW 12s all the time is actually pretty legit. They don't have to focus on their prey targets. They're still very, very, very good. Coming down into Storm Legion, DeBarro, I think she's interesting. I think she's a little bit more interesting than she used to be. I don't think that she's going to be a pick for the meta. So, these are not exactly hot takes, warm takes. Calder's still great. Calder gains Fury Strength, so that's a damage buff. And the feat is still +2 defense, which is great. She obviously still going to have on her spell rack, she's still going to have Crusader's Call. So Calder is largely unchanged. And so she had a good place in the meta last year. I think she's going to continue to have a good place in the meta this year. Huxley, I think Huxley's an interesting one. Huxley was pretty powerful last year, but the win rate wasn't so high because the jacks were not stellar. Huxley going down to reposition 3 from reposition 5, and then the feat changing to just the +2 speed when resolving charges, it changes the list quite a bit. I think Huxley was good last year and very powerful. I feel like these changes are enough to knock him down just a tiny bit that I don't know how much Huxley you're going to see. Still a really fun, really dynamic caster, but I think it puts Huxley in the mid tier, whereas I think Calder and Kane are going to be priority options as far as Warcasters are concerned. Coming down to the Courser was a very good jack. It remains a good jack. Having an arc node down 1 point cheaper is a big, big deal. There are a number of Storm Legion casters. We already talked about Sparkhammer and Kane that are going to be looking for arc nodes. So keep looking for those arc nodes. I think the grenade launcher changing is kind of interesting. The heavy storm thrower obviously was one of their more powerful options last year. Going from spray 12 to spray 8 is a big nerf. You do get a point cost off, but it's kind of a lot. And not to be underestimated, the punching spike going from 2 to 3. This was a cheap option that was taken by people that helped to bring down the cost of the jack, and that's going up. So that is going to hurt the coursers a little bit. Legion Officer, fantastic model, still really good. Standard Bearer going to 1 point. Losing inspiration hurts, but it's worth it when you're going to 1 point and you still get the electrical damage adds. And so being able to get those flags out there to get the +2 damage to your electric damage, still very good. Sarah Brisbane, awesome. Maelstrom, I think the Maelstrom was a kind of a middle of the road colossal before. I think it maintains a middle of the road colossal, maybe even feels like a little bit of a nerf. When you had the spell rack and you had Arcane Shield or Snipe that you could constantly throw on this thing, it made it a lot better. And I think that's probably why it needed to be moderated, is because being armor 23 or having those high range with Snipe is a lot. Now it's Rat 5. It's a little bit cheaper, but its guns aren't as strong, and you don't have the buffs to put on it like you used to. So I think you're going to see a lot less Maelstrom. Wolfe. I think Wolfe is probably the biggest winner in Signar. If I had to make a pick for the metacaster that is going to define the way the rest of us build lifts, I think Wolfe is it. There's a very, very powerful feat here, especially when you combine that feat with the fact that he gains Snipe and he gets Arcane Shield. It's such a good suite of spells to get, to gain Snipe, to have Arcane Shield, to already have positive charge. Those are all great, great, great spells. And his feat is going to be so much better now because you're not going to have as much RFP. People are not taking Silence of Death on the rack to just X Wolf out of the game all over the place. So you're going to be able to put this feat forward. You're going to be able to jam your opponent with 20 models. And what you're going to do is you're going to put Snipe on Deuce and leave him in the back. So Deuce is going to be a range 15, Rat 7, POW 14 with shot types, and he's going to get to shoot every time you lose a model. I think it's a style of gameplay, especially if you're playing into another Warmachine faction with constructs or undead models. Being able to put additional dice, POW 14s out over and over again, absolutely incredible. So I think you're going to see Wolfe with a bunch of bodies and at the very least a Deuce and then kind of fill in the rest. And I think that's going to be a heavy component meta-defining list. But we'll see if my hot take ends up being right. I am excited to see the Sky Bomber and the Sky Raider get the electric types. I think these are pretty interesting. What I'm And what it looks like is because they're listed in this section is they now become friendly faction models. So these are not mercenaries anymore. So they're going to be buffed by friendly faction abilities. I'm really kind of curious to see where these things go. My guess is they do end up seeing a lot of play. They're very unique and interesting models. Stormlance Legionnaires, still good. I think Cav are some of the best models in the game. So they're still fantastic. Stormguard Legionnaires, they gain Big Game Hunter, so they're effectively weapon masters against cohort models. That's another good boost for this army. They're still 7 points. And so again, where I think Wolf is going to be a major dominant caster, you're putting probably 2 or 3 units of Legionnaires in your list, or Stormguard Legionnaires. And so I think they're going to do a lot of damage and be very threatening pieces. The other item is I still think that Calder is going to be a popular option with the +2 speed on the charge, and that's going to make the Stormguard Legionnaires just that much quicker, that much nastier. Stormthrowers, I think we see a lot less of these guys. Striker heavy. I think honestly, a lot of Warjacks, because of going down a Mat and a Rat, I feel like Jacks got worse in this edition. I mean, we're going to see what happens, but across the board, losing your stats. I mean, granted, they have the ability to boost, but you kind of get weighted dice through units anyway. So they might sort of be unchanged as far as power level is concerned. But my guess is you're going to see a little bit less on the Warjacks. Tempest Assailers, they're they were mid before. I still think they're kind of mid now. Thunderers, I think they move from bad into mid. General, solid. The Zephyr, I think, is very interesting now. The Zephyr is pretty legit. It's a beefy model. You go from Mat 7 to Mat 6, but you have a cavalry charge. And then gaining some PAL 15s is pretty great. Pathfinder and Steady is going to be awesome. You're going to be still bringing a lot of Stormguard models. I think one unit that I didn't talk about that I think is going to be pretty strong is the Stormblade Legionnaires. I missed them in here. I thought the Stormblade Legionnaires just staying the way they are. Mat 6, 13, 16, Polarity Field, Shield Wall. I think still just a great unit. And again, I think you're going to see them with a fast Calder list. I think you're going to see them with a Wolf list. With positive charge, they're going to be hitting at POW 14. They have E-leaps, so if you're putting something like a sturdy Zephyr in, again, Pathfinder, Steady, extra damage, it's already got the plus electric bubble. There's a lot of value to be had there. I think Storm Legion is in a pretty good spot. I think you have probably Kane, Calder, and Wolf at the top, with Huxley and Sparkhammer kind of right on the edge there. So I think they are going to find their way into some lists. But I do think they have 3 top casters that are going to be pretty legit. I think Deuce is awesome. Black 13th are still good. Lots of good warrior models. So I'm kind of excited to see where Stormforge goes this year. But those are my kind of quick takes looking after the rules as they've come out. And we'll see how the meta evolves. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.